We're talking about he leaves Parliament and they drive down, a better street and they get to somewhere. Oh, the bodyguard was first called. I mean, the driver was first called by bodyguard. So from where he came, and they also saying the car he was using was not a normal car, right? It was a son's car or something like that. So again, this guy is also throwing in some deception plans here and there. So you do not know which cars they're going to be using. But then now look at it from the other side as well, of the hunter, that they still knew what car to stick with. So which means...
Hey wadau maze, one of the greatest things about our guest for this episode, Byron Adera, is that he is an expert at dealing with difficult questions, especially mambo ya military.
But I'll ask you this question, hata kama I know you're saved and you love the road. Somewhat, sasa kwa sisi kienyeji people, there's word that goes round that once you bite someone in the line of duty, ukiuma mtu, it calls you. Like you just want to bite people, hata in the right setting. As in, you do the Lord's work in that context. Is that true?
Well, the truth of the matter is...
Byron Adera is a former Kenya Special Forces soldier, and today we are tapping into that wealth of knowledge and experience to make sense of some of the insecurity situations among insecurity instances we have witnessed in the country.
You have identified. This job is going down today.
Yeah.
This person's life is in your hands. Mm-hmm. He's on the clock. You are counting him down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do they process the magnitude of silencing someone for good? Like as you embark, let's say, on a motorbike?
I was getting into that mindset, but then I got lost somewhere. The mindsets of killers is different from normal mindsets, so that's why you're getting confused.
Akimaze, I've said this a lot lately, but this is another episode you need to approach with an open mind.
2 shots, a kill, guaranteed kill.
Double shot?
Double tap.
Double tap.
So you pulling the trigger or twice, so it's a chest shot, headshot. Okay, so then that's what happens in the one. So that's possibly what those people are trying to explain. So the triangle is not a triangle put on your hip and your pelvic bone, as someone was explaining it. It's basically focusing on the center of mass. We call it center of mass. So the mean point of impact is pretty much covering the most vital places. So that's the triangle right there.
Please tell us at the end of this one, kama this is still a podcast or it qualifies to be a sit-down movie.
We are trained expert killers, as the Special Forces operators call themselves.
Yes.
Expert killers, because we're actually doing the ethical bit. You want to guarantee that this team goes back home alive, take them back to their family. So we regard ourselves as such. I mean, make the other guy die for his country, not us to die for ours. Yeah. So the mindset is a mission.
I'm your host, Dr. Kingori, and here's another reason to stay subscribed to our channel. Come out, just subscribe, maze. This right here is another reason to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications bell. Hey, wadau maze, a quick moment. Kabla show ianze, we are big on wealth creation on this platform, and if land happens to be part of what you'd like to add to your portfolio, please consider checking out the offers of Pet Mall Shelters Limited. Now, Pet Mall Shelters Limited is an award-winning real estate company, one of the most trusted land selling companies in the 254. Fanya due diligence yako, utapata their title deeds are ready, and they're giving you a chance to own a piece of the earth with a budget of as low as 350,000 shillings to 2.5 million Kenya shillings. Alafu, here's more good vibes. You have a flexible payment plan up to 10 months. Pet Mall Shelters Limited wako na site visits every single day. So kama unataka kununua chenye unaona, tembelea ofisi ya Pet Mall pale Eureka Towers first floor in Kikuyu Town. Get in touch na Pet Mall Shelters Limited through the contact details on your screen.
Byron, you're in a good mood?
Yes, I am.
Uko sawa kabisa?
I'm good, man.
Sawa. I hope your training comes with, because in terms of combat na nini, you're trained to the highest level.
Yeah.
And intellectually, you're trained for hard questions.
Absolutely.
And I have credited you on another show because we've had different conversations on military, but you are the one who openly answered one of the most difficult questions. Anyone would ask a military officer, and I'm someone who served in the military, I'm someone with a military background, and that was epic. Na nimekuambia offset, when we started this, I remember back kitambo, when we started like the podcast format of our show, it was like, na utulete Byron Adera. I'm glad it's finally happening.
Thank you.
Over a year later.
So over a year later, man.
But this is our third sitting.
Yes.
Good vibes. So
Thank you.
Now this happens at a time when a lot of things are happening in the country.
Yes.
I'm interested kusikia what you think about the Trump assassination attempt. I know you heard about that.
So it watched it.
Hiyo haikuwa hapo, haikuwa in part of what we are supposed to discuss. There is the assassination of the Kasipul MP. Mtu anasema the late Kasipul MP ama former Kasipul MP, unajua?
Well, both are valid.
Both are valid.
It's both the late and the former as well. Elections will have to be arranged.
Okay, because conversations with you are also English classes. So now, kuna hiyo, but siwezi hepa without asking you some military stuff just to get us set. Unaona, when the Kasipul MP was assassinated, a conversation starts that, oh, he was a bad person, so something crops up like he deserved what's coming. That's different. The family says different. It was dear to them. They feel it. So it's like a balance of how to respond to this. And it's also different feedback from his constituents. Okay?
That's right.
Mixed feedback. And that ilifanya nitake kuuliza or to get to know this from you. There's a concept called justifiable killing. Justifiable death. Would you please define that for us as we set it?
Well, there's no justifiable killing, ideally, from the concept that you brought up. You know, the perspective that one man's poison is another man's meat, one man's terrorist, another man's hero, liberator, so to speak. And yes, our lives, unless they say, of course, unless you sell ice cream, you know, you'd not have everybody look at you the same way or love you, you know. And so for it to his family, to the closest friends, and you know, people have different post different faces.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, you know, suppose the common background that we are coming off here, that one man's meat is another man's poison, one man's terrorist. So yes, there's those things that are flying out there.
Yes.
So there's no justifiable cause to take a life extrajudicially. So that's one perspective that, yes, if he was committing some of these things, then ideally the situation should be that the law catches up with him. Yeah, that you go to police station, you report, and the jury is still out on that. You know, there's all these institutions that should actually be doing an excellent job. So there's those conversations out there. But from the very fact that then someone aimed a bullet at him and caught him, you know, killed him in cold blood, well, on that particular perspective, if it's not something that's gone to court, it's not been litigated, and a death sentence has been proffered, then it's unjustifiable death. It's death that is extrajudicial. It's death that you can say, yes, was not in a way that meets the standards of the humanitarian, you know, if it's not just law, but even there's intersection. I'm not a lawyer, but we studied.
I'm following.
Yes, we studied, you know, the intersection between morality and law. That this is when my cadet class, you know, 2005-06.
Yes.
Under military science, you know, course, and there's that intersection between morality and law. So those are things that are meshing together here. That the law says one thing, that we are a functional society that believes in the rule of law. Okay, then the moral questions here are being asked, you know, and the jury is still out on that one. You know, if he was killing people, if he was this bad guy, if he's done this and that, so that does he deserve to die? But if it was an eye for an eye like that, all of us would be in hospital, bleeding noses, or dead in hospitals, or things like that, right?
Yes.
So there's those questions that if you're allowed for anarchy to reign, then I mean, people will kill. What was trending the other day, you know, the bar is too low. The bar was so low.
Yes.
To a point, someone will kill you for, and it has happened. I mean, we have people killing over food. Guy goes back home, and you know, the wife has eaten this part of the chicken or things like that. So if we were to allow that to pass, then I mean the bar will go extremely low.
Yes.
So I believe that the country has enough legal infrastructure, if you may, that should actually be dealing in these ills that are affecting our society. So that, I mean, not chaos, but sanity reigns. Not injustice or impunity, because what we saw there is total impunity. I mean, say very cautiously, jury is still out, but now we know, you know, the people have been arrested and a police officer is involved in a way or another in support to provide essential mission critical aspects to that mission, which, I mean, and some almost said credit, it looked like it was planned very well.
Okay. That's the official version.
Yes.
So now the reason why people like you exist, Kwanza, we'll talk about this badge.
Yeah.
International Close Protection operative. In it,
And
like
yes.
this is top shelf, right?
It is.
The reason why you exist is because hizi jobs ziko. Like there are people who carry out gigs of taking people out. Niliambiwa is not killing when speaking with people like you.
Yeah.
It is elimination, right?
Or neutralizing a target.
Neutralizing. Thank you.
Yeah.
So these jobs exist. So you also exist to protect people from that.
Yes.
So now that these gigs exist, okay, gigs is, no, jobs, let me say jobs.
Yeah.
These jobs exist. Unapata, you have to think like the people who carry out these jobs so that you protect people from being victims of such.
Yes.
So I'll take you through. First of all, we accept. Like officially, umetumia very careful wording. Umesema extrajudicial.
Yeah.
So there's at a certain level it is allowed, but I'll not put you on the spot for that.
Okay.
I'll not put you on the spot for that. But let's go into the mind of someone who carries out a gig like that.
Yeah.
Kwa akili yangu, when I saw that, and thank you for accepting to come talk to us about this.
Anytime.
We are not talking about the merits or demerits of the case.
Yeah.
So, kama sai ati someone comes from place flani at a certain point, at a certain time, or 6:30 or 7:30, whatever. And the information is they were trailing him, until at some point someone embarks, disembarks from the vehicle they're using, shoots someone, and then they go. You are trained to think like this person, so that you can stop them. What goes on in the decision making that, oh, amepita place flani, sitamuumia hapa, wacha nimungoje pale, this is the best place?
From the hunter's perspective or the hunted?
The hunter's perspective.
Well, the hunter's perspective, you go to actually get into the mindset of the hunter. And to be a good hunter, you know, depends on this the side of the ale that you are at. If I'm providing close protection services to a client, you are pretty much out there to protect, you know, the lives, and let me give you this perfect example. The idea around what a close protection officer out there is someone who's a hawk. You know, he's 8 feet tall, barrel-chested. You know, they're mean-looking. They are rough. They're walking the street and kicking ass here and there. You know, they're always ready to fight. They're reactionary. You know, they're reacting to stuff. And perhaps in one way or another, they're actually armed to the teeth. Makes a perfect scenario for bodyguard? No. Ideally, yes, some of those things, but the mindset of a close protection officer is what actually has got to be tuned to make them that particular person.
Stealth.
A lot of those things. So yes, so if he is an ant hunter, a lot of the things that you do in the background, a lot of things that you do before you get there, a lot of those things that you do before you get to the rail track road. You know, when we were kids and we were walking on a road that went to a sugarcane plantation and through to a factory. Come from a sugarcane growing, you know, part of this world, Miwani. And there was a rail track, you know, junction, and there was that big, you know, sign, you know, concrete and all, and you saw, you know, stop, look, listen. That defines what you basically summarize as total situational awareness, okay? And this is exactly where the game starts. So you do not arrive, you know, and rock up cold, and then they say you're a close protection officer. You have failed, because if you fail to plan, you actually plan to fail. So all these things that are happening, and I'm not saying that that you can actually get risks to a point where they are zero. You can never get riskless, okay? But what you do with elaborate protection, you know, frameworks is to reduce those risks to what you call ALAP as low as is reasonably practicable. So that if you're sitting on one side of the ale and I'm the hunter, then I'm up against all these imaginable, you know, real and perceived threats. So real threats are things that you've documented, you've seen them happen, you've seen them not just on your principal, but even others. I mean, we saw Trump, and that's the most powerful president on earth. We saw George Bush, you know, take 2 shoes thrown at him, and we've seen one recently. We saw Prime Minister Raila Odinga being flogged in front of everybody in Kwale, right?
Yes.
And we've seen some of those things happen. So there are failures here and there. So then if you're sitting on this side of the aisle where you're providing those protection efforts to your client, all those things that you do before you actually arrive really will make absolute sense at the end of the day, and will reduce those risks to as low as reasonably practicable, but in a sense then prepares you as an officer close protection operative to be proactive and not reactive. So to give an answer, there's a very elaborate, process of training and tooling yourself. So which means you're training the mindsets. Because the questions that are posed in terms of the look, the bulky look, and you all hit steroids as they can get, and you're looking, no, that's not. I'm one of them, could be having that body structure, but trust me, you will need people actually blending into the population to gather that much needed intelligence that prepares the venue for you. And so what you do not see around the close protection job, which is a framework, bodyguard is for an individual, but close protection operative is a framework. So what's this framework? The framework is you have people who are doing all that intelligence gathering. If anything, before a president or even yourself, before you go somewhere, you do not know nobody, but you are a bodyguard. When you walk around with your kids, you're providing close protection services to them. When you're watching them to prevent them from dropping into a pool and you're in this place they're playing, you are providing close protection. When you're on your own and you are shopping for a house and you asking questions, what's the security there like? You are posting your resources beyond yourself. They say when you do not have resources, then you become resourceful. So that is you being a bodyguard. That is you, if it's a framework, it's you being a close protection operative. Now, flip it on the other side. If you become the hunted, the people will make and take advantage of these loopholes. Because what I've seen there so far in terms of the analysis is that someone did their homework right. They were able to use all the resources they had, and they were able to use beyond the resources that they had. So being resourceful. So in a sense, they're looking for vehicles. They're looking for, because of traffic, we may get caught up in this traffic snarl-up. So what's the most preferred method of getting in and getting out quickly? Okay? We are taking advantage of the hot intelligence, because who knows where you sit in your car? And if we only know that one person was neutralized and the driver survived and the guys at the back of the car, then they had that hot intelligence. So was someone with them at the parliament? Was someone watching them all the way? So that is surveillance. That is close target reconnaissance. That is the hallmark of being a professional protection officer. So it's not being reactionary, it's not being reactive, because when you're actually going out there without that information, that intelligence, as God's people say, and the good book says in Hosea 4:6, is it? God's people perish because of lack of knowledge. So knowledge is key to survival. So on the other side, guys did a good job. They were able to recce, they were able to do a lot of surveillance, they were able to be fed hot intelligence, they were able to tool themselves up appropriately. The application of fire, as you see there, is quite some tight grouping, so it's someone who has a steady hands on a weapon and is extremely sharp with his shooting, right? Much as his point blank range, and clearly my grandmother and yours can easily do that. But even up to that point, they're steady and they're not making mistakes. Then they quickly get out, or hop onto a bike. They look at traffic dynamics and they're looking for choke points, even for themselves, so that the home run is all clear.
Is this to say that it could have been anywhere, or the exact, in terms of planning,
yes,
the exact position where they bite someone is the exact, when you watch movies,
yes,
wanasemanga, when you're being hunted and then they pin you, wanasema, you are right where you are needed to be.
No coincidences. It's a choke point. So choke points are, if they're trailing you and you're very up close and candid with the target, you've done your homework. So this is on route management. This is on journey planning.
They could have used any route.
Absolutely. So this is how it goes. It boils down to this. If you are that, and we don't just call them drivers, and the mistake people make, which is, Kingori was a rally driver. Kingori drives really fast. You driven with him and you're just reckless. You're not driving fast, you're reckless on the road. Okay? So recklessness on the part of Matatu drivers do not make them good drivers for principals or high net worth individuals whose lives really matter, not just to themselves, but to the people that they're influencing. Because when you're way up there, your life ceases to, everybody's life is like that too, by the way, because you don't live for yourself. But when you're way up there and you're a principal of repute, you could be a politician, a celebrity, a high net worth individual, CEO of an organization that pretty much takes care of everybody. You're a big tree on whose branches birds are built nests. So there's an ecosystem around you. So if you're that guy, you're not going to be taking your life, for granted to a point where someone suggests that this guy was driving a matatu in Nairobi, so have him as your bodyguard. No. The drivers need to be trained in close protection, frameworks as well. So the drivers are not just focusing on taking you from point A to point B in the fastest way possible. That's one of them. But being very instinctive with their driving to a point where they can also get into the security planning of a journey. He's not the guy who's going to stop for you to deposit your M-Pesa in the middle of the night. He's not the guy who's going to allow the principal to cost them to stop to buy a newspaper at 3 a.m., which very sadly, took out MP George Mushai, God rest his soul in peace. He's not the guy who's going to be quite unobservant of their, positions where they are instinctively, so situational awareness and instinctively reflecting upon their environments in a manner that secures, ensures that safe journey, which is this, taking a client from point A to point B in the fastest way possible, the safest way possible. So up to and including, he's thinking, I'm leaving point A, he's planned it right down to the second or to the minute, so they don't miss their dinner. If they're supposed to be with their family at this point in time, they will be. That is the thoroughness, that the forensic kind of planning, forensic in detail that you want on this guy. That then if he knows there's going to be a choke point somewhere, he analyzes them and uses stretches his imagination, stretches his instincts to take care of anything that will come. Because ideally, someone blindsiding you is bad enough. Someone coming from an opaque direction just because you are not taking care of all your acts is totally bad enough.
Yes.
Okay? So all these things were right down to the proper planning by the other guy. They had an upper hand on these guys because they were caught off guard. One of the bodyguards, I haven't had, but I know from social media and these things flying about and from some news bites that said, oh, he was caught off guard. That is not something that's, we can admit to in a world where this is a high reliability world. It's more like a pilot saying, oh, we overflew the runway because I just slept, I goofed off for a second. People will crash. If you're selling tomatoes by the side of the road, you can go back home and eat them. If you goofed off because you're protecting a client, your lives, their life may be at risk, your life as well. So that's why it's a high reliability organization, it's a high reliability institution, and mishaps like those ones are not admissible at all.
You've said a lot of things hapa to unpack, na kuna kitu tumeacha hanging kidogo. So hebu hii choke point unasema sana.
Yes.
Because I'm very curious about, it is here now.
Yes.
The guy who has the decision to log you out of life forever has the decision and knows it is time.
Knows your place and time.
Place and time, yes. He knows the place and time.
Yes.
What is a choke point, Kwanza?
Well, a choke point is a place where you are more or less limited in terms of the advantages for room, maneuver, mobility, where you don't stretch, you don't have wriggling space. So think about it from that perspective. And two, there are places where the advantages are flipping off in terms of you are sitting dark. So let's say in traffic, you are sitting dark. If someone is going to be walking on foot, they got an upper hand against you, much as you in a vehicle. And of course, if that vehicle is not armored, let's say. So you are sitting dark, and sitting darks die, right? Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine reminded me, we teach it in our trainings when you're doing this close protection trainings. It's, a dead client doesn't pay. So if you're not inspired by that, then you should be absolutely more mindful that if this guy died, if they got embarrassed, if they lost face, and if their business went down because of that damage to their reputation, you are out of work. Okay, so those are choke points. So it can be a place where you're flying through a mountain pass, and this is the only place you're flying. That's a choke point. There are mountains that are coming in, and that's the only place that you can actually pass. You can't drive over roundabout. You can't drive over cars. Okay, at a traffic light. Those are choke points. So in your planning processes, the planning phase, you're thinking, where's traffic gonna be like at this particular point in time? So we can plan our routes effectively. So for choices is down straight Ngong Road, home to Karen. But because of that choke point right there, really, really close to a morgue, a mortuary.
Okay.
That's a choke point. At that particular point in time, there's only one artery that's leading down Ngong Road all the way, okay? Yeah. But there are vichochoros, there are vichochoros that you can pretty much get into or avoid. There's something I continuously teach my students all the time, even if it's relevant, but it's applicable everywhere in life. It's not just in security. The AEA cycle, awareness, expectation, avoidance. God's people perish because of lack of knowledge. When you improve your awareness, just like before you get to look for a house, you're saying, oh, how is the security there? What about the water? All these things, they may not really injure you big time, like lack of water, things like that, but they're very inconveniencing. So in the protection world and the mindset that we're training operators is that 9 out of 10, you're not going to get into a gun situation, all out war, kicking asses and doing all these things. But then the inconveniences of your client having a shoe on their face or a medical emergency, and then you're lacking in the skill sets. Or they just tripped on something and they twisted their ankle. They're in pain. A guy was asking, they took a client somewhere and all of a sudden, they sold the shoe, 6 inches, breaks, and she was one of the keynote speakers and they didn't have a spare. And she can't get into his shoes, thick soled as they like them, the bouncer type of shoes.
Yes.
So what do? Those are the kind of inconveniences. So backup upon backup. So it's a route plan. Plan A, this is going to be smack in the middle, but if things were to happen, I'd rather choose. And even on this one, there's another backup to it. So there's emergency, there's standard operating procedures, and upon that you have, emergency operations procedures as well. Okay. So you have contingency plans upon plan A's, and then you have emergency operating procedures, even against those, because that's what life is all about. You make adjustments. So choke points are places that have heightened risk of something really happening to you, either in terms of your movements really impeded, maneuver, like freedom of action really impeded. Mm-hmm. You are a sitting duck, you're right here. Traffic is not moving, things are going on. People who are even on foot can pretty much come. It's a public place. What do? And if they know that there's a high profile individual here, just someone knocking a window and saying, give me your phone, that already. But they can't do that if traffic is moving, speeds are okay, you have an upper hand. The moving target is also very difficult to shoot or to nail or be accurate at in terms of shooting. So those are the choke points. And a lot of those things that have happened, trust me, have gotten people right at the choke points, right? It's either
right where they needed to be.
Right where they needed to be. So it's a planned, what you call a welcome party. It's an ambush.
So now in the mind of a hunter, because I'm sure you can also think like one.
Yes.
If in the case of what's going on with the available information in the public,
yes.
From one of the texts I've read, Mheshimiwa's top 10 deposited money to M-Pesa or withdrew some money in the M-Pesa.
Yes.
I just know it's 20K, right?
Yeah.
So the hunter can see him.
Yes.
Because I'm sure they are already following them.
Yes.
But haezi taka kumaliza kazi haraka because that is not a choke point.
Yeah.
That's not mission complete.
That's
when
not
you bite him up kwa M-Pesa and then you...
The risk of compromise is too high. On them, if we were to track it down, I mean, I had the first news beats were talking about he leaves Parliament and they drive down, a better street and they get to somewhere. Or the bodyguard was first called. I mean, the driver was first called by bodyguard. So from where he came, and they also saying the car he was using was not a normal car, right? It was a son's car or something like that. So again, this guy is also throwing in some deception plans here and there. So you do not know which cars they're going to be using. But then now look at it from the other side as well, of the hunter, that they still knew what car to stick with. So which means they had this hot intelligence available to them.
Yes.
Okay? So either that, and this is the mindset that we are trying to teach here.
Yes.
And to obviously expose people to either that, even the careless conversations you're having as a driver, you've taken the car out to wash at the car wash, and you are there and you're making loud telephone conversations to a friend. I'm here, I've just come to wash my boss's car. And they know you protect the high net worth individual. You are their weakest link. So even when then this guy is doing all the good jobs, the bodyguards that are trained are here with him, are saying, oh, we are calling the driver to come with that alternative car. So they're throwing a deception plan to this. But then your weakest link, who's unschooled in all these things we're discussing here, becomes the last straw that breaks your back. Okay? So that's what I'm thinking, because unless they had someone really also tailing every other imaginable car that it'd be using, which of course stretches them out in terms of the amount of resources that they need to have, to tail every vessel, tens of your cars, just to get which car would be coming for you, means that I go to put surveillance assets on every single one of those cars. And imagine you have to layer them as well. If traffic is okay, then, I mean, you are hitting the speeds, so it cannot be the bike all through, right? So you go to actually have a backup to that, say that vehicle or something, so to blend in. So leave that for a second. Then he leaves Parliament, but you're now told there was some car that was parked just around the embassy. So that's what you'd call close target reconnaissance, that they're really on top of the target. So as they leave, they're making a decision right at the gate of Parliament. So that remains their DP, decision point. Okay? So they leave, he picks a left, then they know, oh, it's going to go this way. They pick a right, then they're going to be radioing all their parts. So that is really good intelligence to me. They got close target reconnaissance. They got enough standoffish kind of people, the hitmen that are away from Parliament, because you can't be parking a motorbike right next to Parliament, for long before you start to, get some attention, right? Which motorbike is this that's not even getting customers, and you've been there for the longest? But an Uber car, or like an Uber, blends in at the embassy. They go out for lunch, they come back. but they could be another source of what intelligence. Leave that for a minute as well. So they get into town, and these unschooled, not very informed, maybe guys who in this car or even the driver, who are not appreciating his risks. Because if this information we're now hearing now was available to them, so takes us to the situation around your principal. So you go to do a risk threat, assessment on your client as well. So you know what they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And it's a world of very intimate relationship, Kingori. So if you are my principal, I would ask questions, some even very invasive. Who are these mistresses you have? Where do they stay? If they say in some very red zone in this town, I'm not going to be very comfortable to allow you to go there alone, okay? And I'll give an advice on how to actually do these things in a proper way that safeguards your security and safety. Used you as an example.
Mi sina shida na example, ni mistresses, hapo ndio nimeshindwa, but carry on.
Yes, so all these things. So you've got to actually appreciate the risk factor on your principal first. You're not going to protect them blindly. That's what happens here. So gigs come,
okay,
and you're called, Kingori, you got those friends of yours? Yeah, I do. Okay, Waite Mbogi. So Mbogi rock up, looking big and everything, but they do not have the risk assessment, kind of knowledge on them. Yes. They're not asking questions. Who's this client? What do they do? What is it? Go to Facebook, go to their social media pages, ask questions, sit with them. What are the medical conditions that you have? I mean, do you have any threats to your life that are happening in the recent past? What has happened? So that you're actually appreciating the stuff you're dealing with. So you're boosting your awareness. And with that awareness then, it gets to the E part of it. I talked about awareness, expectation, avoidance. The E part of it, expectation. Then you start to have expectations. Well, if you go to a public place, someone can actually, splash wine or whatever if he's dealing with this kind of people that are threatening to do this to them. So you're aware of what to actually protect yourselves against, right? If you is a public figure, is a politician, and this large-scale anger and frustration at them, then you know what you're dealing with. You go to actually keep people at a stand of distance so they don't get very close, because it can be their water bottle, because this is a missile. Yeah, even the plastic ones, that is a weapon. Everything you have on you can be turned into a weapon. Stuff like this, big watches, all those things, and they look really toned down. But someone can use that again, and before you know it, they put you on a choke point. How long does it take them to put you on a choke point, and you pass out and you die? So it's not just someone who's rocking up with a gun. It's all these things that you have to appreciate in terms of your threat risk profiling and the vulnerability assessment as well. So how vulnerable are they? They'll have their newspaper, yes, but not this time. This is a threatened hour. Traffic is thin. If they're following us to a point, they're actually driving over that roundabout like it happened to the MP back in the day. Someone should be able to pick that. But what happened is we were totally lacking in situational awareness to a point. They were all caught pants down. 4 of them, 1 gunman.
Okay. So now, in the mind of a hunter, because I will still insist, because I know you have to think like them.
Yeah.
So the hunter in Akishengia, in the zone of work, you have identified, this job is going down today.
Yeah.
This person's life is in your hands. He's on the clock. You are counting him down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do they process the magnitude of silencing someone for good? Like as you embark, let's say, on a motorbike.
I was getting to that mindset, but then I got lost somewhere.
No, it's fine.
I do the ethical one. I don't do the unethical.
Of course, I understand. But you protect people from that.
Absolutely. So then,
what do you think goes on into their minds when they close this? Is it just mission? Is it just a gig like any other? Hii job nimalize niende. I finish. I go home. Do they process the magnitude of that decision? Like fungia mtu, like your birthdays end today.
Yes.
Like beyond this,
meeting has been arranged with your maker.
And I always play. I like philosophical concepts in my head.
Yeah.
Like let me add him 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
Like to breathe. Let him breathe like 4 more times. Like do you? That's my simple-mindedness cannot go beyond that.
Yeah.
But do they process that?
Well, we have to start to imagine that the mindsets of killers is different from normal mindsets. So that's why you're getting confused. I get to that point a little bit because we are trained expert killers, as the special forces operators call themselves.
Yes.
Expert killers, because we're actually doing the ethical bit. You want to guarantee that this team goes back home alive, take them back to their families. So we regard ourselves as such. I mean, you make the other guy die for his country, not us to die for ours. So the mindset is a mission. And what we teach, the educated protector model, And this is not gonna be, for that side. But so mindset, you talked about it, man. It's actually the first thing we teach in the educated protector model. That the mindset are got to be right. Literally, you're choosing a profession, or it's choosing you, then you go to do what it takes to actually get into that right mindset.
Yes.
That I'm protecting another life with mine. People don't appreciate that, and people get to assume a lot. For them, it's a way to earn money, and it's a sad story. Yes. Money is okay, and they say, a dead principle doesn't pay.
Yes.
But you got to actually guarantee their life with you as if it comes to. So the mindset has got to be right. And then you're thinking mission. And the mission statement is those five W's and one H, right? The who, what, where, when, why, and how. Okay? So then your name is on the target list, and of course we've done the who is the names to task is been prescribed. It's going to be King Ori, it's going to be Byron and someone else, so they put names to task. What's got to be done, where it's got to be done. So all these 5 W's, and then how. So how is around, I'm thinking choke point, yes. How are they going to strangle you to death? Are you going to, all these things. So I'm imagining that's it. But then there's a difference here, and that's why you and I are getting a bit lost at some point in time. Because we are on this good side of life, they are on that bad side of life. And people who do bad things and things that are not ethical, yes. or their psychology is different. Trust me, it's always going to be 1 or 2 mental situations that they're dealing with. Because ethical people, well-meaning people, good people are going to be playing by the law. We may be lacking in one area, but our lives are we are satisfied, we are full, man. If you can starve yourself for a month or so and you are fasting for a higher vision of satisfying your spiritual perspective in life, right? So you're not starving, you're not talking about you're starving, you're saying I'm fasting. You are saying, I'm feeding children, like some of us do in some place. It's not like we have billions sat in our accounts. You're saying, it's the best thing to do to actually lift a hand up. They don't reason like that. So first of all, you're dealing with people who are deviants, so they're dealing with deviant behavior. And as Robert Merton, sorry to introduce psychology.
No, it's fine.
1938, 1957, the deviant strain anomaly theory. So talks about deviant behavior that happens when, he says, when conventional aspirations exceed the level of satisfaction that is associated with legitimate behavior. So already there's illegitimate behavior, but what are those aspirations that are paying them? Crime pays. So someone says, crime pays, because that's what they've known. They don't know an alternative. But then, if you expand the discussion around, I also love Magaji, Algebra of Aggression and Criminality. It talks about habit strength factors as part of the algebra. I won't say it here. But the society encourages that. If you have done some things and you're looking like you gang, you are mafia, you are appreciated. Your mbogi celebrates you. And so there's those bragging rights, there's the ego that gets boosted by, so there's deviant behavior that we're dealing with here. Other things around our aspirations in the country is you also want to drive a big car like everybody else. You want to have a home in a leafy suburb. So as crime pays, then it can pay through some other way. And by what way? Maybe you're promised hundreds of thousands of shillings or millions within a very short period of time to just take a target out. And the bar has gone low, as we say it. Other people have been killed for far too less, right?
Yeah.
As we know it. So that is the mindset of deviants that drive deviant behavior in the society we live in today. Yes. So then they have the same resources and the capacity and the time and space to just be as thorough at their job as perhaps even more.
Yes.
Because for them, the risk of failure means that you're caught. The risk of failure means that if those guys were able to answer with good news, as we call it, squeeze a bust, then you are dead. No one wants to. No one wants to die, including the bravest of us. Yes. Yeah, definitely. So they really cover their bases well. You got a speed bike, if it was. You got someone doing some close target reconnaissance very, very well. You got someone who's hooded, is standing somewhere. No one picked him up. He gets into a bike or something and the tailing. No one still picks them up. So that means that they had what in the war terms you talk about order loop. So they got the orientation right, they got the observation right, orientation right, decision making, then action before the other guys got onto that curve.
Okay, there's a beautiful rationalization concept you've said there that I don't even know how to argue with. My mission is to make sure the other guy dies for his country.
And not us. We
don't die for our country.
Yes.
We support other people in their mission to die for their country.
Absolutely. So it's a win-win. So
Aye. Or our country wins, and
they win for the country. Perhaps on the other side, they believe there's 72 virgins in the die matter.
Yeah. So I think that helps break it down. In fact, I think rationalization is the right word. You are able to process the decision.
Yes.
Better than the ordinary person mwenye anafia, oh, guilty, oh, the person is hakuna hiyo.
Yes, they rationalize, and that's what our society, what an environment, look, that's a whole question of mindset. And trust me, the world is reeling in that kind of way.
Yes.
That you go to a place and you really believe in your country as well, but the other guy believes in that. So it's the question of mindsets. And because there's just some motivation about it. So yeah, the educated protector model, if I was to ask anybody to get into that, so mindset, as you said, it is a big thing. Then think mission, which is the who, what, where, when, why. There's the third E, right? There's motivation. You've got to be motivated. I mean, you see a lot of people who are quacks. They've been trained, you got all these trainings, but then you're just not following through. So there's got to be the motivation. You doing your stuff, and man, you branched off from where you were, you now doing your stuff, you're alone, but still standing tall. That's motivation. How many guys have started up, doing stuff like what you do, and they've not gotten to where they are? Motivation, okay? And then beyond that, then you're thinking mastery. Yeah, mastering your trade is basically now then methodologies, and then you got mastery. Mastery is where you're now thinking experience, education, first of all, then experience, then exposure. So that's for us the 5 M's of the educated protector model.
Okay.
That really keeps you grounded as a professional, because ideally what we're lacking in is that professionalism at the end of the day.
Okay.
Saying, oh yeah, I was watching something else, or maybe engrossed on my phone,
okay,
or playing a game when you're supposed to be protecting a principal, really doesn't cut it. Okay. Saying that you allow the principal to sit in the wrong part of the vehicle, because ideally it should be that SD, the security driver, it should be the PPO, the personal protection officer, and then you got the principal sat somewhere. I'd have been amused if it was the bodyguard that was mistaken for the principal sat at the front. But then again, yes, tells us much about the intelligence we're talking about here, that they knew exactly up to the point, because the windows are not down, perhaps the windows are up as well. Maybe the car was also tinted.
And that's something I noticed. You have 2 versions
yes.
of philosophies. Mm-hmm. One as special forces, it is making sure the other people die for their country, mm-hmm. not you dying for yours.
Yeah.
But when it comes to close protection, you say you're willing to die for your principle if need be. And for the love of the principle and the people you would be contracted to protect. You sound like, wewe ungekuwa kwa hiyo gari, you would have rolled the window down and be, anko ni mimi, anza na mimi kwanza, it is my job. At what point does it get to, ati, you have a gig, umeona ni mbaya, and you've taken the contract, unajua you protect the principle with your
Me
life.
or someone else?
You.
I don't.
Would you?
I won't. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't volunteer
Absolutely.
For your client?
An untrained protection officer is not just a risk to themselves, a risk to the client. So I'd rather not take up a job if I know I'm not going to do or provide excellence.
Well, ukipatikana of that, in the sense, you're saying you would be willing to protect your client with your life if need be.
Yes.
So sasa naongea hapo kwa if need be, if you find yourself in need be,
yes.
How do you process that? Would you volunteer?
Any day. I'm a professional international close protection operative.
Yes.
So any day. It's not volunteer. It's taking a job that pays. And pays not just in money, in satisfaction too. When you deliver excellence to a client, it's not just you doing something for them. And what's more satisfying is that you've gone over and above. Okay?
Wewe serikali kutrain special forces, upige service umalize.
Yes.
Uingie international close protection umalize. Alafu upigwe risasi 3 juu umelipwa 2 million.
Well, thing is, with, and I said it, I mean, you can trip on your, coming. Those are hazards, by the way, coming to the room and there's wires all over the place. That's a hazard. And clients have fallen off and broken their noses when they're going to conferences where they're going to speak. Mm. Those are the things that bodyguards look out for. So the misconception that we're just reactionary and seen walking around looking big and everything and totally blind as a bat is not close protection. That is you being a setting dark, because if threats, that insurmountable amount of threats that are out there, if you're to deal with all of them, the whole idea is avoidance. The whole idea is to mitigate those threats, to see them before they manifest, to evaluate them, and to then plan very, very thoroughly, forensic, in detail. So those are the things that you say to that. So you don't get a job and say, oh, this bogey, there's some job somewhere, come, we go. The history is the graveyard is full of those examples of people who have died because they took up jobs that way. Sadly, we lost from my own sub-county. We lost 8 bouncers that were asked, oh, we are taking some funerals, some Western. You must have heard about it. We spoke about it the last time we met. And all of them, 8 of them were killed in Western because they carried this casket and the widow told them, you know what, it's a very strange place and these guys are irate, so let's go. How much? Maybe 2,000 shillings. All of them lost their lives. Because they go there with an uneducated model, and they say, oh, just getting a casket. 8 of us, perfect. I mean, it's going to be lighter on everyone's shoulder. At the end of the day, we had far too many. But they get there, they've not done their assessment in terms of what threats could be posed by an irate crowd. This is a very emotional thing. You're going to bury their son, and you don't allow them next to the casket. The traditions there, they don't know. People just want to have a look and, give their last respect. So they deny this, and someone says something wrong, and before you know it, you're up against the whole village. All of them were killed. Majority of them are coming from my own home market center in Ahero. All of them were killed. It was on the news.
And I thought it's only my friend Cleven Lange who doesn't like bouncers. Kumbe it's a close protection professional.
Bouncers are good. I mean, they're creating the image of God. They're big and everything like that, which is fine. But there's some of us, I'm big too, but you got to actually improve on that. It's a good thing to actually have the advantage, but people like you are excellent in blending in. If you go somewhere and for you, it's your advanced party. So there's a framework to close protection. So guys, we send before we get there. We've sent you there and you're gathering intelligence. You are having a beer or having a bottle of soda or whatever it is, or wine, with whoever, and you're getting intelligence here. Had they sent what we call security advanced party,
yes,
that's what happens. So you don't walk into a venue blindly. They know what's going on. You've smelt the things. You've been with the people. It's all those things that then are preparing the party for the main team that comes with you. Actually, those guys should do the least of work. They are there for sure, to be seen, to be walking around you. But the people who done the bulk of work are the security advanced party. And if you do not have those resources, then be resourceful. Right about now, before coming here, I make a call. And so I posted myself there before I get there physically. How's the situation like? What's traffic to getting there? Because those are things that would impact my journey. And so my journey management to get here on time, like I did, is all those things that you're taking care of before you get there. But you get there, you trip on your, whatever, because you're running, because you're trying to make up for time and all these things. That's not how you manage the close protection industry, or the provision of very high-end and high reliable, product like close protection to a client whose life, just like any life, really, really does matter. So when those jobs come up, what you do is to sit down. In the special forces, they say you never be in a hurry to get out of that door, only to get yourself killed. It's not a question of how, lacking in, just raw courage we are. We are not. We are excellent warriors. It means that we sit down and we plan everything. It's forensic in detail. It's very thorough. We take care of all the scraps and pieces of information and intelligence we have on a target. If we don't, we go out there and get it. And then we act in a very surgical way.
When someone listens to you keenly, Byron, someone would say that you hate being a big person. And for someone like me, I'm like, okay, this is half the work. I don't even need to exercise. Yeah. I can just threaten you by walking. And that's why you're talking with the disclaimers. Oh, these big people. I am big, but it's an advantage. Take it. It's an advantage.
Absolutely, it is. Let me tell you where I wouldn't want to praise it as much, because it will give someone else a false self-image. And that's why they die. A false self-image is just as dangerous as totally lacking in awareness as to how to use. They say skill is better than strength. They say that. Biblical stories rife with such examples. It's not just Goliath and David example. There's more to that. So the false self-image that exists, and everywhere we go, and it's not just looking menacingly strong and all that stuff, but you go to clubs and you find bouncers carrying someone out and then throwing them off, possibly killing them. What does it do to the client in whose business you're operating and whose business you're taking care of? You're chasing away their clients. A client that has lost all their clientele doesn't pay, so you're out of work.
Yes.
So size for size's sake isn't enough. Size taken advantage of for other ends is what I'm talking about here. So yes, by then I'm bulking up, so thank God. But then for what reasons? Maybe better reasons. Not just to, because again, if you're that guy, as I told you, if you expose all your tools of trade, then ideally what you've done is to actually sell the game short. because anybody who's determined enough will then plan against it.
Okay.
That's why even when you're armed and licensed holders, the whole framework talks about concealed carry. Ideally for license holders protection themselves, because if you were to walk around, having them, how much do you have in terms of the clip that for the pistol, any pistol? It's less than 20 rounds. How many people are you able to neutralize if it came to? We saw a clip running around of that guy in Isili who had to leg it. Lucky for him with his life intact, because when riders come in, those bikers and the close in and everything, it had been burnt there together with the occupants of that vehicle, and perhaps even himself got and killed, right? So the whole idea is actually to de-escalate tensions. The whole idea is to avoid battle at all costs. But then if it does really matter that you actually have to make that decision to take out a target, then it's better be that. It's that other guy, and not you, and not your principal, and the people that you're actually taking care of.
And the wording is very deliberate. Take out a target.
Yes.
It is different from how someone like me would process. Kill a person.
Yeah.
Those two different words means
absolutely. So it's beyond. It's not a way to dehumanize the target, but I mean it becomes when they pass the bar to be taken out, then they're just a target. It helps you with your emotional management as well.
Oh, really?
That's what. Yeah. If you talk to warriors, that's what they say. You don't remember faces, you remember events.
You don't remember faces, you remember events.
Yeah.
So the problem I have with speaking with friends like you, or a friend like Cleven Langi Amanini, I just know that you guys only talk about, in fact, ikienda sana 7% of what you've seen. I listen to the things you don't say.
Yeah.
I am an expert at that nowadays.
Oh, okay.
I can tell that Byron has been to hell and back, and polite too, and unacheza adaptation. And sasa shida ya kupiga story na wewe ni most of the things I would wish for you to talk about are mostly classified.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you this. Have you had a near-death experience in your line of risky work?
Many.
Karibu mwe na mtu.
Many. And it's not actually just out there facing up to the Mujahideens and all these things we did up in the mountains in Elgon. The most regrettable was taking rounds from friendly forces in training, where you've dropped your guard and this is a holiday for me. We've gotten time to go out and train.
Or to have fun.
Train. No, we are training. We're actually in the jungles out training. We are, when you're not in operations, you are training. Okay. And the leaves are short, so you're off days and all these things. And so we're somewhere in Isiolo, we are having some refresher, because what happens is with your foundational training, you put it to test. So you are in operations. So you have training, you learn, right? Like you go through the elementary training, either RTS or cadet. So you are trained for what? For work, right? Yeah. So for the real deal is go on missions, not bullying boots in the camp and doing.
Yes.
So for some of us who loved action, we joined, active units. I joined the parachute regiment, and thank God the special forces idea came and was in sheets. Yes. So perfect example, perfect world for me. So yes, you come from work, operation experience, from training, you go into the real deal, so operational experience. And with the operational experience, you get to learn other ways of doing things. So you get to actually unlearn, right? So you come from training, from operations, you always have some talk periods, you go out, rest a bit, but you come back. And there's trainings, because there's a lot of the learned in operations that should inform the way you actually need to now train to tool yourself better for the next battlefield experience. That's also life in general. I mean, as you go through life, there's no blueprint.
Yes.
Every day you wake up and I'm happy, man, you made strides. So it's operational experience, learning on job, and getting better ways of doing things, right? That's to keep it simple. That's how it happens. So in one of these fine days, we are out there. No war expected. So when you're not expecting anything, that's when it gets you fair and square. I was extremely lucky. I so wish that guy who listens or watches this and comes out. Did be my friend today. Hope he's still alive. I would love to meet that guy. And how he missed this big target, I attribute it to God.
Oh.
Yes, point blank range. What happened is we were out training, and the Maasais mistook us for other things and other people that they'd not seen. For us, we were wearing different uniform as special forces, different kind of uniform than what they used to seeing KDF people wearing. And we are this small team, and when they're greeting us, we're not greeting them, because the mission plan was that the situation Yes, but then the situation was we are treating civilians as combatants. We are behind enemy lines. The imagination here is, the real scenario is we are behind lines, because that's the job that we do. Either you are, sabotage behind enemy lines, or you are, intelligence gathering missions, close target reconnaissance. So you see a civilian, that's what we call a soft compromise, because chances are high they've seen you, they will speak to someone before you don't have control of this information that they now have of you being in this environment. So before you know it, they'd be reporting you to the enemy forces, and they'll be out looking for you. So we are avoiding them. So I've seen civilians, so let's break track, or we have hand signals. So they're seeing us acting funny, we are not, calm, they're asking for water, we don't give them, like, oh, this could be militia. Before you know it, they went and reported to the nearby police stations. And so GSUs and some, I think it was APs, came out looking for us. So I'm in this, what you call a patrol harbor with my men, and 6:30 in the morning, 6:15. So 05:45 to 6:30 was supposed to what we call a stand through time. So it's a place of heightened risk of being attacked. The enemy would attack at dawn or dusk. So you have to pack everything away, and you are ready for any eventuality. So we are there. It's a listening, kind of posturing. So you are there, total quiet. You packed your things away, ready to go if anything was to happen. Get into battle, withdrawing battle, basically shoot and scoot. You are limited in terms of your numbers. So what you do in special forces, you don't put a battle to sustain battle for long. It's maximum damage, get out of it quickly. If you have to call for enforcement, we can now do business. So that's what happened. So I hear voices and I launch out. I got someone, Mzungu here, special forces. They come in to train with us, and we were training other guys now. So I'm looking at him, I'm like, hey, this scenario, I wasn't even informed by this guy who's with me here. He's shadowing me, yes, but I'm thinking, he's asking me questions. But who are those guys? Who are those guys? Like, this guy's just pulling my leg. So the voices come and they find where now our trucks were coming in. And so I tell him, let me go forward and see what's going on. So I'm going to do my combat estimate, so to speak, see who these guys are, how many are they in terms of enemy force, and then command my team appropriately. So I'm behind some shrubs, and of course they get my voice. I get their voice, and they get our route in. And it was a route in, actually, because the route out was from some 6 o'clock. So there's the way you actually plan your harbor. And then as I step out of this shrub to basically just see, because it's actually now sunlight, not comes. It's a bit hazy. Someone stepped out of the line, because I saw a Maasai guy, the Shuka, who was, so I saw him, was just on our, wako hapa, hawako mbali, because they would see a lot on our footprints. So as he looks up, he sees me stepping out of the shrub, and he froze. The next guy behind him was a cop with a jungle hat, stepped out the line and opened fire. AK-47, a burst. That's the last thing I saw. Whoa. So it was just these branches. As I instinctively was going down, there were just branches just, being peppered on top of my head. That's the injury that I have to date on my left knee. I was supposed to go for surgery. I hadn't gone for surgery.
Oh, he got you on the knee, but ulizimika immediately?
No, he didn't get me on the knee. I really hit a rock. As I was going down, I had a serious damage on my knee. I have it to date.
So you are alive today because of kienyeji shooting?
Because of that kienyeji shooting, I guess. 1 and 2, God spared my life.
So how do you interact with, knowing you are an operator, by the training at that level,
and I was the only one, plus this guy was with, my men were carrying blanks because he's in training. I was just carrying live rounds, 2 magazines, and it was G3 then, that are full. And for me, my practice is I always had a round in the spout. I'd have killed him, all of them perhaps, but I just didn't see it right. As they opened the burst, now it didn't take a short time. It took a long time. These guys now, they are scampering back behind bushes as well, and they're still shooting. Burst after burst after burst. And so it was my men.
You found ground, ungewauma wote.
Yes. But now knowing, so my men start to shout at the harbor, Sisi ni jeshi, And it was such a bad mistake on their part.
So assuming the kienyeji shooting at one bullet finds you, and then you find grounding, and you see they are still an officer, they are still officers and Maasais, are you allowed to be angry enough to actually wapatie moja moja ya mapaja just for the situation now, yeah, just like hiyo ya hapa, I'm not killing you but returning the good news. Are you allowed?
Well, you should know better. To him that much is given, much is expected, right? If you step before a jury or someone, not a jury, but just someone, say even someone like you, and we told our different stories,
Yes.
they had a valid perspective. They were just reading off a completely invalid map, so to speak. They were navigating their lives then with a broken compass, and the broken compass were the civilians that were in that area who had seen what they saw, which was also valid from that perspective.
Yes.
They thought we are not normal army like the ones they are used to.
So you did not greet them? You guys are not trained in customer care?
Absolutely. Customer care, yes, you can say that again, but we train, the way we say it, we train as we would operate in war.
Yes.
This we didn't tell to them, and this we couldn't do even in our natural. So I guess learning points for us then was to improve our liaison.
In communication.
And even with the general public, like, which of course would have given us away, yes, but in a nutshell, in a hindsight and in terms of big picture awareness.
And do you process this as any other day in office? Ama, I'm curious to know, kama such a moment, when other people get a near-death experience, kama hiyo, it's the time to get saved. Do you process this the same way? Do you start going to church?
Yeah, God saved.
Oh, niyo?
In a different way, though. My salvation was just to manage my mind better then. My salvation was to manage my emotions then better. My salvation was to actually look at life very differently from then henceforth.
Oh, your perspective changes?
Yes. Your perspective, near-death experiences don't leave you the same. They never do. They leave you scathed. Definitely, that's a definite. That's why people struggle with mental illnesses of sorts. And for me, I guess that was the very, very first point that now trauma started settling in. Because untreated trauma is post-traumatic stress disorder. So then you get that, then it compounds. I remember after that, that's when, we'd come from Mount Elgon, we'd come from post-election violence, then we'd come from Mount Elgon, all these things. The first contact I got was contact like getting shot at, was in Mount Elgon in March, the first in my life, army life. Mount Elgon operation. In post-election violence was other things, Mikuki and all these things. You'd see bodies that were harmed by, sorry to digress, those poisonous arrows, and God forbid we'd never want to go back there as a country. It was crazy. To some of us, we're actually saying, I'd rather meet, contact live rounds than those mishale, because they're very quiet, no report, no signature, and so they were people. We feared them more than if someone was to come at us with a weapon, a gun or something.
Someone from the British Army once told me of a story.
Yeah.
They had someone, they had Rambo in their team.
Yeah.
Like the bad man who, like the person they counted on.
Yeah.
The person who, he would out-train everybody. Yes, they had Ulemse. So one day they went crashing somewhere, and Ulemse kicked a door.
Yeah.
Vibaya, and sijui kama ilikuwa, I don't know the weapons, sijui whether it was a landmine, ama it was like some form of explosive that chopped him in half.
Yes.
All those sit-ups, nothing now. All those sijui sasa hapo hata, as in, it now counts for nothing. You are dangamanyaness zero. How do you process moments of like something small that changes the trajectory of life for good? Either a small mistake, kama yot we hear like ordinary us, at you kanyanga landmine.
Yeah.
Story
doesn't matter.
You should have.
Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah. Like ama when you watch a movie and someone's walking, you're very careful.
Yeah.
Alafu unasikia kakamba like a string, and sasa your friends wakwambia salimia malaika and everything. Yako imeisha hiyo.
Yeah, so that was a door that was enforced. They booby trapped the door, and so you have to. And this comes right at, again, very relevant in terms of the planning processes, even for just being a close protection operative. That all those things you want to study. The mission planning takes care of what you call the situation. So what situations are we dealing with here? We talk situation friendly forces, situation enemy forces. And so you go to actually spend a lot of time with a lot of respect to the enemy. Rambo, yes, but then that breeds arrogance. And it's not, is it Ralph Waldo Emerson that talks about the basic human vice and the beginning of all his problems is that of unfocusing his mind and suspension of his consciousness, which is not blindness, but the refusal to see. So things are there that you can see, which is not ignorance, but your refusal to know, because a lot is out there to know.
Yes.
So if you're dealing with this enemy, and for that Rambo example, you go to actually study your enemy thoroughly. What are we dealing with here? They got these capabilities. So they're able to mine doors. Like the Al-Shabaab now, they're able to put booby traps. So they're able to mine places, they're able to booby trap, they're able to do all those things, right? You cannot be blind to that. Because as Ayn Rand says, you can evade reality, but you cannot evade the consequences of evading reality. So then this guy, you can go, and that's why, yes, we the deadliest of worries, but our planning is forensic in detail. We'll take care of everything. So if it's not the wisest of idea to just kick the door blindly in, that would be the last thing you ever kick, like in exam. So everything amounts to nothing.
Yes.
Right? Things happen, and it's the reality of war that people lose lives. So we've had to reconcile ourselves to the fact that you staring in the face of someone is a friend, but then the next minute they're blown into pieces, and it's just pieces of, that you're collecting.
Okay.
That's the reality. But then doesn't downplay the importance of still taking your job a bit too seriously, pathologically to some extent.
What
by the
about
way,
the
in
tricks?
terms of, yeah?
What about the tricks? Do they happen? I'm sorry, I'll have to reference movies
Go ahead.
in what you call the theater of war.
Yeah.
Ati you're hunting someone.
Yeah.
Alafu, and I believe these tricks do happen.
Yeah.
They can throw a spoon, unatoa kitu, anakuuma. Do those things happen? So,
yeah.
So this also comes with situational awareness. Ama sengine, it's just luck. Because how will you know? How will you process a spoon? Ama someone puts a cashew that it speaks. So unajua umemupata. Kumbe they are just waiting for you to
reveal where you are.
Yes.
So yeah,
you train for that too.
It's a contestation of ideas. You train in tactics. And some of that will come with your creativity as well. And that's why when the idle talk that's usually out there, you hire, grade D materials. Trust me, the army are some of the brightest of brains. Some better than mine. Yes, and people who had scored A's, went through campus, had A's and everything, first class honors, and decided, I'm going to do this. It's a passion. So they signed up because they love this, like I do. Yeah, it doesn't mean that there was no alternatives out there. You're cracking grades and making professors if you want any day. Okay, so the whole idea is, fall in love with your job, be passionate about it, and so use it as a platform to demonstrate what you're made of. That's how I look at it, and that's how any sane, well-meaning person, the world over, in different professions, you have a platform to show the world what you're made of. Literally, you're not doing this for yourself. A lot of people who watch your page and go to your places and say, we love Dr. Kingori. You are sorting other people's lives out, because lives are supposed to be lived for others. Otherwise, just living for yourself, it's going to be very ordinary. Okay? So that's what happens. So it's a contestation of ideas. Anything that you can do to have an upper hand, do it. People have had to raise. Do you know why we have people now drinking, not from the canteens, the water bottles that we used to have in the army? Because people are being shot while drinking water from their bottles, from the trenches.
Ati, what are you saying?
Yes. That's how sharp people are. Because when you're raising the bottle like that, and so someone sees the bottle from the rim of the trench, perhaps in the trench was. That's how crazy it was.
That has happened.
That has happened. People have been shot through their mouths. People have been shot through their eyes.
So so what do they change it to?
You got camel bags now, the hydration bags. They say, man, concentration is the secret strength in war, in politics, in business. It is a concentration. So any momentary lack of concentration, you're gone. There are no timeouts in war.
I'm a big fan of cause and effect.
Yeah.
So are you saying the drinking water, hydration was changed from using a bottle because they used to shoot people?
People were shot while drinking water from their canteens.
Well, people were shot while drinking life. Water is life.
Yes. People lost their lives while drinking life. People have lost their lives through those small adventures like that.
So they changed that to hydration.
Yes. You answered into call on nature. People have been shot while doing that. You need two hands to actually do some of these things. You need two hands to, So in the special forces, trust me, people carry piss bottles and shit bags.
You work with that.
You piss in a bottle, you keep it in your bag. I'll track you down based on your pace or your, fecal matter. People, I mean, it's distinguishable, and people will know this is different. This is not an animal in this jungle. So we track you down using that.
So ukiingia kwa kichaka to trace someone down.
Yeah.
If they decide to susu somewhere, you will follow them with that.
We look for that. We'll track you down with that. Yes. An experienced jungle tracker, we look for all those signs.
So the secret, if I susu here, I go this way.
Not entirely. You can actually look. It's not high strung like that, but you do. But I'm just saying the perfect example, what you call battlefield discipline. Anything that you have, you just a sweet wrapper, because there's high energy. You just need that, right? Just dropping that is not just bad environmentally. That will be the end of your life. If you get someone who's as good as me, they will track you down. No. Wild animals don't eat those things in the jungle, do they? They don't. And this is a human pace. This is not an animal peeing like this. This is not, and a lot of other things. Food sign, top sign, we look out for all those things. So concentration is a big thing. So that's why some of the operation experiences say no, because people will have to get their hands off the gun to reach out for a water bottle, and and at that particular point in time, you're not watching your axe. Your attention is taken out of even your weapon system. So if someone was to raise theirs and they found you like that, you are caught pants down.
Okay. I'd like, I believe our audience would like an update from you on your adaptation into civilian life. This badge gives me FBI vibes.
Yeah.
International Close Protection Operative.
Yes.
It has FBI vibes. I would like to know where you flash it and how you get to this level. But now that tumeingia kwa military sana, quick one before we go there. Mesema, what is, hii nilisema ndakuuliza at first, for definition terms, what is a confirmed kill?
Well, if you're doing BDA, battle damage assessment, right?
Battle damage assessment.
Yes.
Yes.
The confirmed kill is, and that was the trouble that President Obama was dealing with when they're making the decision on Osama, how to take out Abu Dhabi, where Osama bin Laden was hidden after, was it 11 years or more, when they're looking for Osama bin Laden. And so, are we going to be able, if we had to drop all these JDAMs, the joint, whatever, it's a big missile. So you drop it on Abu Dhabi, everything's going to be blown into smithereens. It's going to be, how are we going to confirm that it was actually there? Because the intelligence, like the CIA, all these intelligence assets that gathered on Osama was not really, really definite. But there was a lot of circumstantial evidence that was really just getting to one person, not including the courier that they'd been tracking down to just this particular interesting place in the Pakistani border, And so Obama was, we do that easily. We do the Air Force, because there are all these commanders, joint commanders, and everybody's pushing their card, the envelope, saying, give it to us. And so I think McRaven, then the general, said, we got the best tool for this. We got Special Forces, we got the Navy SEALs. As daily as they come, they can pull this off. Okay, get them to train. Up to the last final moments, they don't know they're actually training for this up, and then they get told the last days, that day or something, that you're going to Pakistani border and you're going to get, so Jerinomi. So you need a confirmed kill. A confirmed kill is literally just, how do you positively identify that they've been neutralized? You took a Navy SEAL operator to lie by the side of Osama's body to, for height measurements and all these things, and they have to do
that. Is a confirmed kill. Yes,
I mean, until probably you've also done, because the damage assessment is, you don't have a face anymore. You don't have chances are high that if you do not have a face, you've been blown into, or you are disfigured in a way or another. So to confirm this kid is going to be taking, there's different degrees.
It is that detail kama fundi wa kitenge, ati height,
yeah, someone had to lie by the side. Someone basically, team lead just looked at someone and he knew what he meant. Like, when we think you're the guy who's as tall as him, so
who do us a favor. That the special forces have a tailoring department. But Nini, so is that different from the one confirmed kill for snipers? Because I see that's how they rank them. Or 32 confirmed kills,
yes,
100 confirmed kills.
Yeah, absolutely. So then there are different degrees of confirmation. So if you didn't have a name to a target, because when you're out there and you're a sniper, they're combatants, then they're friendly forces. So there are people who are nailing your guys, and they're just there. You don't know their faces, you don't know their names. It's giving the example of Osama bin Laden based on, so confirmed kill would be in a camp, and it was estimated that this camp has this number of forces. You do a damage assessment and say, there's bodies that were lying around, and attributable to you squeezing your trigger from half a mile away were these 2, 3, 10 individuals, if it was from a sniper's nest. Yeah, so that would be. But there's different degrees to that confirmation, up to including what we do. There's and it's within the SSC, sensitive side exploitation as well. So for some, they had to do an SSC in terms of not just him and his body, but any other things that were there in terms of that had information of value that were in their trillions in terms of, yes, their worthiness. Yeah. So that's something that like dusting off a site. Like what they had to tape off part of the road to pretty much just get and do their measurements in terms of projectile motions, where we're shooting from, ballistics, all those things. But anyway, so to digress, a confirmed kill would purely be under the framework of battle area, or what we call the damage assessment, to the extent that how many lives, targets are neutralized, effectively neutralized. From the sniper's perspective, yes, any target that you see effectively drop, and you are able to actually account for them in terms of any follow through to ascertain that they actually dropped and they were neutralized, is a confirmed kill.
Now, to take you back to where we started before we go to your adaptation to civilian life.
Yes.
How do you process the news, like for someone who has a background in training like you? Like ukiona kama when the news of an MP has been assassinated, kama let's go far back as Mushai, let's go far back as someone like Jacob Juma, right? Do you just watch it, bad news, oh, Kenya is unsafe, oh, nini. Ama you process it as you go deeper into how it was carried out?
Yes, this is my trade, this is my world. I now know people would be calling me, media stations, asking for my expert analysis on what's happening. So I got to be deep in terms of, I'm not an armchair analyst. Anybody who's watched me, because that's why I'm on BBC and News Central, Village Square Africa, CNN.
Yes.
Because I take time out to actually tool myself and skill myself up every other day. So I got to be sharp. I got to have the details. I got to actually use or have all my experiences and my learnings to come to bear on a point of analysis to bring worthiness out of it. Yeah. So I don't just say, oh yeah, that was just like what the examples I've given. I know the numbers. I know when it happened. I know the operators themselves. I would go deep into knowing what kind of skill sets they had and what actually played out within that environment that occasioned that, people getting worked up to a point they were able to take lives. So what are the emotions that were running, wild there, and what are the causal factors? So you got to actually do that. Otherwise, you just say, oh, because they are Luyas and these were Luos, so there's a tribal thing to it. Not at all. Yeah. You got to actually be deep in the analysis, and so you got to really respect every event. So that's what I do every day. Anything that comes to my attention, I apply myself with substantial depth in terms of what basically get the facts right. So I'm not just picking, out of my backside, as they say, figuratively speaking. So that, people get to learn, because what happens when you get guys who are armchair analysts, what they produce is a charlatan factory. It's basically from a charlatan perspective that actually injures the public even more. Because ideally, like you say, even at the very onset of it, like lives, we don't live our lives for ourselves. So are the things that we speak. If people are looking at me and saying, oh, that's a special forces operator, and that's someone who's a subject matter expert and a lead trainer, from where we training, canic, close protection operatives, someone is going to say, oh, that's really worth my time. I'd want to improve on my skill sets, and so I would want to do that. I'd want to be like that guy. But if I was a charlatan, again, there's a group that I hold sway on, and we're going to say, oh, because a special forces warrior, then it means then that what he has said is really, gospel truth. And if I didn't do my homework well and I'm just a charlatan, I'm actually providing more fire, or adding more fire to production of quacks out there. In a sense, also being an agent of people getting to risk their lives more if they are to apply the things that I say that are not legit.
Okay. If that's very brilliant explanation. But Byron, you know a good person and you know a bad person.
Yeah.
Right? And you have been trained to the capacity, unaweza uma a bad person and you cannot be caught, because you know both sides. Right?
Yeah.
What stops you from taking a side hustle of biting bad people, making the society better. Does that make you a bad person?
Well,
If you know a thug, Byron,
yes,
if you know a thug,
yeah,
let's say, for example, for context, we are not speaking about anyone in particular.
mm-hmm.
You know, someone is a thug, someone is a threat to society, and probably the judicial system is not good. And you know, and you have the knowledge, and you can bite them, and they will not catch you. What stops you from taking a gig?
Well, truth of the matter is, I have very good friends, and they say you're an average of the 5 friends that you keep, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm helping. I'm doing my bit
Mm-hmm.
by preaching the gospel that I preach from this very good side, and also helping other guys to tool themselves up and become. So we are milking the dark room of darkness. I'm setting candles. I'm lighting candles everywhere I go. I preach legit stuff. I preach change. I preach restitution. I champion to better society, and by doing the things that need to be done. I'm training operators to become the best that they can ever be, to actually, rid the society of the ills.
Yes.
I'm taking part in, rehabs in some of our slums, like Mathare. We have homes, we are supporting families in Mathare, and when you're called upon, by our getting involved directly, we are helping the society. So for me, I look at it from what they call the starfish theory perspective. This old man was by the seashore, and someone was running, and he was picking one starfish at a time. And there was a flood that came off and blew.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they never think it's insignificant, after including you inviting me to this show. So for me, it wasn't a press at all. It's, let's get it done, man. We didn't need any convincing. Because by putting this word out there, the mass outreach is beyond the borders. It's not just confined to the borders of Kenya. And so the awareness that we are creating, the free education that people are getting now, after including even operators. Somebody looking at that space saying, I've risked my life a bit too much. I need to actually go get the wherewithal that I need to have in terms of how do I do risk assessment? How do I threat profile? Then how do I then even kit myself accordingly? After including even some of these things that are carried here. Save lives. I mean, basics like first aid. People don't know them. Trust me, if I was in that vehicle perhaps and someone was even shot through the chest, I could carry my stuff, chest seals, stuff like that, things that pressure bandages, triangle bandages, they are here. The ultimate showstopper, Mr. Tourniquet, is there. Stuff like that. Some things are strange. You said it's not PG, right? We can produce some of those things.
In fact, my friend Engineer Sami Onyango showed us some of these things.
Yeah.
But before we go to this,
yes.
By the way, in terms of demonstration, you'll do a demo for us with this. It's not PG. We can do a demo.
Yeah.
But then bust something for us. Like 2 things, and then we go to this.
Go ahead.
One, in terms of job, do you miss the action, Kwanza?
Yeah, I mean, once a soldier, always a soldier. That's why what I do best is I'm just out here stuck with security, man.
Sawa.
Once in a while, I'm downrange and doing stuff.
Sawa. Na sasa umeokoka, na tunajua umeokoka for certain reasons. But I'll ask you this question, hata kama I know you're saved and you love the Lord. Someone, sasa kwa sisi kienyeji people, there's word that goes round ati once you bite someone in the line of duty, ukiuma mtu, it calls you. Like, you just want to bite people, at in the right setting. As in, you do the Lord's work in that context. Is that true?
Well, the truth of the matter is, battle doesn't leave you unscathed.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Just like even getting here behind your cameras doesn't leave you unscathed in a way. I mean, there's just someone who's, your soul goes. We are an extension of our professional and personal lives.
True.
You cannot divest yourself from that. That's why they say once a teacher, always a teacher. Once a soldier, always a soldier. Once maybe even a journalist is. I mean, you are not out there selling groundnuts, sweetie. Right? You're just doing this thing because you are really invested. Okay,
Yes.
You're really invested. Now, for this profession, the profession of arms, and if you're lucky to see action and to take lives or whatever it is in the line of duty, that also stays with you. So it can grow into something, it's an obsession to do that. So people can get into that very, very easily. So that's why management, up including mental management, is very, very important. So guys who've been in the doldrums, like myself with PTSD, I know the pains. I know the darkness that is associated with those areas. That's why my passion is never ending from that
Is it
end.
different from guilt?
Say that again?
Is it different from guilt? Like when the darkness you're describing.
What we are told, literally before you go to battle, I remember when we were feeding into Somalia and you are shown stuff, okay? Before we went somewhere to Elgon, you are shown raw stuff. You know, the intelligence people have done their work, and things are even from open source. People, they post them, actually, they post them, the terrorists, they post. You are shown the rawest of stuff, you know, people being changed with blunt knives and like as raw as it is. It gets you to appreciate the mission you're in. That could be you. If you don't get it sorted, that could be you. If you don't take care of your men and you don't get too serious with your staff estimates to a point where you plan your operations orders, get them right and launch men into operations in a proper way, that could be you. So that in itself is a serious motivation, right?
Yes.
So you go there and you do your stuff. So if you actually believe in it and you buy into it, it's ethical. I mean, it doesn't haunt you. But if then you get into what you also call the rules of engagement, you fight by the rules of engagement. I mean, professional forces do. You're not going to get someone who's lifted their hands up in the air and is a prisoner of war. You're not going to kill them. The other bad guys would.
Even if that person killed your friend, ukiona.
Brother, it's very tightly managed. ROEs are ROEs.
Byron, someone bites your friend and then ainue mkono juu.
That's why you're not me.
So, you know I'm more special forces in this context. Yes.
So it's controlled aggression.
Okay.
Literally, you can be as deadly as it gets because, yes, some of us are. A minute to just plan something on your life would be crazy. It's far too much. I don't need much.
Okay.
To plan a clandestine operation, and then it's as deadly as it gets, and it's meant to actually just succeed.
But you're very clever, Byron. Kuna kitu.
I'm not clever.
Does it call people like sawa? There's one level of PTSD, right?
Yes.
But is there a place where someone enjoys the action too much?
Yes,
in terms of the damage caused.
Yes.
Okay.
People are obsessed. It's an obsession. Look, people sleep. In training, you sleep with your gun. You told the gun is your wife. So that is your first tool. You wake up, you start to enjoy sleep with your gun. Yeah, for real. And you think mission. It gets an obsession. It gets obsessive.
Okay.
Yes. So unless that is managed, then you have people who then get predisposed to suffer worse in terms of just glide deeper and deeper into these mental illnesses, the invisible war wounds. So it's very critical. The things that you see me do, take people to the jungle and do is a lot of therapy and of course bring in professional support as well.
Okay. Yeah,
so that I'm really passionate about because I've seen the other side of things.
Okay.
I know the better alternative.
Thank you. So now, the context of one of the things we've discussed was the assassination of that MP. And should I say armchair analysts have described that as a professional hit. People have said that that's a person who knew what he was doing. Sijui nimesikia something like a triangle shot. Ati pa pa pa. And it's a pistol, so a pistol it's not something there's
accurate or something.
It's not accurate and it's not whatever it is, it does not have the capacity to shoot the same place twice. So the person knew what they were doing because that was maximum damage. Hakuna cha ati hali maututi at the hospital can do anything.
Yeah.
But you have a kit here. How much difference would this kit have made under those circumstances?
A lot of difference.
Break it down.
There's always a halfway point to manage stuff. But to talk about the charlatans, to some extent, we are giving too much credit to people who are average or even below average. I love it when they talk about the law of most. That says actually most of us are average and average of us are actually mediocre. That's why, that's why, people like you are excellent because it's not just a word that's resident in the dictionary.
Yes.
People like you are in distinction to a lot of other people, to everything. You stand in distinction to others.
That is high praise. Thank you.
That's excellence, bro. And it's achievable, even in this field. Even in this field, where you special forces operators, this office, different classes of us, for fact's sake, and organizations have that. They are quack lawyers, they are quack doctors, they are average doctors as well. Then there's exceptional doctors. That's why that word stands in distinction to everything else, right?
Yeah.
So is even the operators, and that's just the way the people are too. But we're saying this field should have a bare minimum where everybody should rise above because it's high reliability. people get chosen. And that's why I think the last time when we were talking about choices, and someone picked it, an article, saw it the other day, someone posted in a group, the group I lead, that the question of choosing guys even to join this very exclusive club, the Special Forces, is not about us choosing candidates. It's a question of candidates choosing themselves for us. Mm-hmm. We set the bare minimum standards, we say that's above it. No one even encourages you. By the way, you're told, carry this weight, it's 40 pounds, run up that hill, round it, get back down, time allowed is 3 hours. No one encourages you through the go. If you want to go, if you want to fly, turn into a magician or whatever, do it. But as long as you come back and the weight is still the same. Okay? Because we know the end product that we want. There should be bare minimum standards for this job. And which means, in this high reliability setup that you're dealing with, lives are at stake. So do it, not like life depends on it. Just like when I'm training guys, physical fitness, you tell guys, train, 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 not like your life depends on it. Train because your life actually depends on it. Mm-hmm. Do this not like their lives, the people that you have in your organization here, their lives, and it's an extension of their livelihood. Like they're earning money, they're taking money home at the end of the month. Mm. They must work here like, not like, because their life actually depends on it. Mm-hmm. So that's the other bit. So yes. In terms of the bare minimum for close protection officers, which then, because we are too bad to some extent, that we make average people look good. Mm-hmm. A pistol, as people are saying, and this now to debunk what we are, because I've seen some fly around, like a pistol is very inaccurate, you can't nail a target. That is point blank range, they said it. I mean, you can hit that target on the same spot with a stone or bottle top. If we were to start playing those games here, yes, even darts, brother, we can put a dart on the same spot twice at point blank range, at something just beyond the tip of our fingers. That to me is that point blank range, because that's
the guy is probably watching. You're not afraid that he may get mad and come test his pistol with you, Byron?
Well, thing is, we are. I'm doing a good job. I'm doing the Lord's work.
You don't care whether it feels like you're insulting.
I'm giving information out there that's going to rescue more lives. Okay. So then, point blank range, that was point blank. Okay. Then the second point is someone saying, "Oh, it was a triangle shot and all." No, none of us knows as much. I mean, on the body, and with all due respect to the deceased and deceased family, we get a bit very graphic, a bit too graphic. There's children involved, there's relatives, there's no matter what, yes. No matter what. Osama bin Laden has his family, and they were actually not very happy that the number one terrorist had been taken out, right? So then, let's just say it's a target. The triangle they're talking about for us is that triangle. The triangle is just a chest line all the way up. Because even if someone was walking in this room and trying to shoot at anybody, they're not going to be choosing. It's not going to be very easy to shoot someone in the head. So that's why the choice for us is that, the chest has more vital organs. There's just one up there, of course, with the other organs terminating into your brain. Okay, so you are clinically dead when your heart stops beating, your brain doesn't, loses all the signals as well, right? That's death. And so then, where would you want to? Because even if we are sitting still like this, your torso remains this, but our heads could be darting this way and the other way, right? So that's why experienced shooters would hardly, but for us, being you got quite a double tap, a chest headshot, just so that you improve chances. That's 2 shots, a kill, guaranteed kill.
Double shot?
Double tap.
Double tap.
So you pulling the trigger or twice, so it's a chest shot, headshot. Okay, so then that's what happens in the one. So that's possibly what those people are trying to explain. So the triangle is not a triangle put on your hip and your pelvic bone, as someone was explaining it. It's basically focusing on the center of mass. We call it center of mass. So the mean point of impact is pretty much covering the most vital places. So that's the triangle right there. Okay.
Headache or heartbreak.
Yes, the head. Yeah, absolutely, or heartbreak. So that's part of that demystification. But the fact that all pistols are not accurate, very accurate. Someone also said somewhere, so pistols, for this guy it must be very deadly because pistols cannot shoot more than in 2 seconds or something. A Glock 18 on select fire full automatic would do 20 rounds within a second. And I know better guns that would do even more rounds in a second. There's different variations of weapon systems. But the danger here is if people are then schooled based on those armchair and analysts, or they would go out there and say, "Oh, it will only shoot me once," and then someone is going to walk parallel-chested towards the pistol and take them out. Okay, someone is going to say, "Oh, he shot once, so let's wait for another 2 seconds," or maybe half stones at them. Yes. Several rounds will go out of that barrel within a second. And as I say, bullets miss people. People do not miss bullets. It's bullets that would miss you. You can't miss. With the speed at which a round flies, covering, tens of multiples of football fields within a second. You can't outrun a bullet. You can't dodge it like that famous Ugandan guy who was saying, or you twisted his head. You can't. It's the bullet that missed you because it wasn't meant for you. Okay, so the demystification of all that's being put out there right now by people who do not know, and of course, gladly so, because they do not know, quite honestly. But it wouldn't be good for people to actually come. Kenyans, I think, know so much that in any field, in anything that happens, an accident or accidents, you have eyewitnesses all over. But then there's the danger that there's a lot of misinformation that then puts people at risk or feeds them a false sense of the reality, which in itself is actually very dangerous. If it's not directly impacting you in terms of just getting you knowledge that is not valid, then it's dangerous in the sense that it gets you to a point where the actions you take would not only be useless, but worse than useless. It's very useless to not know stuff, but it's worse than useless to actually know and believe in something that's too far away from a valid perspective. So it's worse than useless, which is really dangerous. More dangerous than actually being lacking in knowledge, because that with open-mindedness can push you into a point where you'd want to now know. But knowing and being fixated on the wrong reality, fixated and being fixed on an opinion and disregarding everything else makes you really get predisposed worse than someone who actually doesn't have knowledge at all.
Now, knowledge in terms of having a kit like this one, this makes a difference between life and death.
Huge.
No matter the damage that has been caused on scene.
Depends. So if they call it individual first aid kits, so IFAKs. So something like this, for me, it's functional. So for me, I'm expecting, bleeding. I have Tony right there, pressure bandage, and different, levels of, so fast things fast, and I know you have this number of casts as well. You need a bodyguard, by the way.
Myself?
Yes, you do. It's not just politicians. It's not just, celebrities, which you are now, but it's net worth individuals and people who don't, you don't want to spend too much of your time. Your life is far too serious to lose on a small adventure that you've gone out, and there's serious, inconvenience in terms of you are driving down a road and you just didn't direct your guy pretty well to take you. So you lose time because time is money. So those small time things that may not be, they're not dangerous, but just losing face that you turned up late and you couldn't do a gig somewhere. You need people to take care of your planet so that it's on security and safety perspective spot on, and just to make your life be very convenient to you. You want a family member be picked from somewhere, and because someone knows, oh, well, he's high net worth and you have picked this guy, call for ransom, he's going to pay. That's close protection. Okay, so that's a demystification as well. So anyway, the first things that you need to have in your camp, people don't have it. You see people in accident and people start to pull people out of those streckages. Gloves. So you need that. So for me, that's the first thing. And as you're packing your stuff, again, for convenience, which things would you want to access first? So for me, it would be that. You talk about some Mr. Chest seal. So if you're shot through a chest, you're losing air, you're punctured in the lungs, you're losing air. Even under duress, 2-3 minutes, you're gone. If your brain is lacking oxygen, your body, your muscles, wear out. Your organs need. So that's a chest seal. So actually you preserve the air that's within your cavity.
This one is, you just paste it up?
There's a way, and you can be as blind as a bat. The instructions are there.
It's there.
So this is covering your main organs, right? So for me, it's functionality, right? And then bandages, you can have as many. So that's a pressure bandage, just put it on top. You pack things in a wound, direct pressure as we know it. So yes, there's always the panic that comes with exposed body parts in a wound or something, and there's that. But just, panic, control that panic, get to the worst, because they'll bleed out anyway. So don't just stare at them and you're there. Yes, it happens, because that's a natural reaction. But get to work. It can be these things, it can be the pressure bandage, it can be just your hands on that part that's bleeding, direct pressure. And when you do, you're also assisting them to clot, okay? But if it's extreme hemorrhage, again, why is Caesar right there? Because you don't have time to unbutton their shirts. They're losing blood and it's pumping out very quickly because the heart and the brain adjust. The brain feels there's less pressure, body pressure, because the blood you're losing blood. it tells the heart to pump faster, in which case you're actually losing blood more.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that happens to your body. So then you need speed of action. So if they're shot somewhere or they're broken, you see blood coming off, you don't have time to unbutton their shirt. So scissors, cut them off quickly. You are saving their life. Yes, it would be indecent. You're getting them naked, but again, you are helping their life. So in this particular one as well. Sorry, so then you have the element of time right there, tourniquet. So this is an ultimate showstopper. Extreme hemorrhage, your limbs, could be because as it goes up, the arteries and the veins are bigger and bigger, right? So in what we teach in combat casualty care, TCC, sorry, we teach self-care. So just that off, then you get it out. And remember, that should be facing you. And why the element of time? When you apply this...
What do you mean that should be facing you?
This should face you. So in terms of individual application,
yes,
that should face you. If it faces the other way, it's just...
you can't pull enough.
Yeah, so put it all the way up. So again, you don't know, you're seeing blood, you've just done your assessment and you see blood in your hands. You're like, okay, yes. Maybe it's in the dark, so you don't know. Yes. So you take it all the way up. You're as high up as it gets, and then you can...
Yes.
Okay? So this is an ultimate showstop, and then you get that out and twist. Pull it, and then you store it. So then that comes. So pull it up, then you store it. I don't want my blood to stop. I want to die. Okay. And then why time is when you have that time, you can note it down. You should actually note it down, because as you take, doctors are now coming, or you're taking someone to better care, you should know if it takes too much time because it stops blood from flowing in your limbs completely, as best as possible, then it means they could lose that arm. Okay? It's between 2-3 hours, they could. So that's why you write the time at which you made that application complete and secure there.
Bleeding from this side and this side, and you only have one.
Yes, they should. So I have one, you have one on yours. So when you're doing our ops, everybody has this, and the spare ones that we have. So that's just first line. Okay. So the imagination is we are not going to get shot all of us at the same time, right? Okay, so as much as possible, everybody carries theirs. Yes. So if you're not able to apply it on yourself, which is self-care, yes, then someone comes and they know we all, and it's rehearsed. The things you do before you get to action. So you're not reactive, you're proactive, yeah? We know we are carrying our Medikit on the bottom right pocket. So everybody, even in the dark, I know it's on the side of your pouch. Pull it quickly, not just looking for it all over the place. Okay. So that's that. So we really encourage all people who are well-being and are professional to actually use, take advantage, train in these things, first aid, because I've saved quite a number of lives, even on the roads. Find somewhere people have been pulled off the cars, and then their face, put on the ground, they're facing up. You'd get back there at 2 minutes and that guy is dead, because they just swallowed their tongue. When they're weak and tongue is a muscle, gets into your airway, that guy would die. We made one on the Thika Road. So I get there and I see now he's coughing. We thought he died. So as we are going to get people off the lorry, we see someone who's lying on the ground and is facing up like that. So get them into what you call a fetal position, 3/4 position. So even as weak as they can get, ensure their airway is clear and they're able to actually sustain that. In that position, they're not able to roll back and possibly swallow their tongue.
So you're not supposed to have someone looking up. No. They are supposed to be on the side or looking down?
Looking on the side. Okay. You have an arm on them. Then you turn their leg into half of their leg into some half triangle. Okay. One leg extended, so they're not able to roll back on their bodies. Okay. The other things here, one is a funny one for you. Yeah. So in an environment, so I got my, and of course, yeah.
This is not what I thought of close protection.
Yes. How light would be this when empty?
Yes.
Very light. Mm-hmm. But this carries 1.5 liters of water. So if you're a survivor, yes. Yeah. So for me, that you'll see a lot of operators carry, these contraceptives.
Are you defending people for cheating, Byron? There's something I don't understand. How does that come? As in, it's exclusively for water.
Exclusively for water. And for demonstration and training purposes, I would tell people, that's how creative you can get. Hey, you don't need to bulk. There's already so much weight. A lot of us, like you're going to operate, you have maybe just limited stuff for water, and you come up against a stream, and you know where you're hitting because you've studied all the ground elements and all. So you don't want to carry 20 liters of water at the onset. We know we're going to get up to some stream, and we load up. Weigh it, get water in, weigh it in the sock, have it on your neck, and you're operating.
Water for cleaning or for drinking? This
has
to be the most diverse tool because just the other day I saw someone post on Facebook ati karibu nikule mboga bila mafuta, thank God for condoms. And now sasa this is you talking about kubeba nayo maji storage.
Yes.
Okay.
For real, as light as it gets. So then IFAC is very important in individual first aid kit.
Yes.
Very important. Even in your own car, you don't have to be a medic. It can happen to you and you're bleeding out, people watching you, and you bleed out and you die. So individually you can help.
That's a matter of life and death.
A matter of life and death. A matter of life and death. So that's one. And then people in your world who are dealing with paparazzi, seen a lot. Do you see why people carry spotlights and stuff like that? I mean, your cameras, you shone light on your camera. What happens? So you don't have to be pushing people around like you see guys who. So there's this. You get away with your life. You get your client convenience. There's no paparazzi pictures. You haven't showed people around. You haven't kicked anyone in the ass. So spotlight. But most importantly, and we are getting to that in terms of maybe the mishaps that these guys had, the driver. Man, the job of the driver, as I said, is not just to drive fast. This guy is a security driver. So in which case, every other time your car goes to the car wash, how much do you search your car? How well do you know if the car has not been strapped with recording devices, tracking devices? We don't have to get someone on a tail. Like you having a motorbike follow you, you won't see that. But someone has an equipment, everywhere you go there, they'll come much later. So you don't see, you're thinking, I'm so bright, I'm changing cars, I'm doing everything. Your driver is the weakest link if he's not trained and he's not having this mindset. So clear the car, look at the surfaces underneath. There's a place that people will tag stuff, and before you know it, you're just wondering, why am I constantly seeing this particular, this guy who's just looking. A lot has happened, and they are employing all their measures to, take advantage of your vulnerabilities or the carelessness on the part of the people that you have who should be taking care of your life but are not doing a good job at it.
Okay. So spotlight ni plain and simple for nini. So now, international close protection operative.
Yeah.
Very neatly done. Hey, this is so FBI vibes, right? This is now your way of adaptation from military life. Do you see yourself as an ordinary person until you've opened a shop, until you're selling stuff? Like, do you see yourself outside for any other business away from in the security sector?
Well, I am a lot of other things.
I know, tulikutana kwa VIP transport, but
absolutely, yeah.
You're still there?
Well, I'm doing better jobs now. And we're supposed to improve on our baselines.
Congratulations.
Including producing better operators, like in this sense. You should send some. Send your driver. We transform him from a basic driver to a security driver. I'll give a discount.
I don't have a driver, but when I get one, tumesema akuje apige tizi. And will he get a badge like this one?
Yes. I mean, it's open for every. It's not a zero-sum game.
Okay.
All of us can have this card without, diminishing the star of all of us who when you're tumetangulia, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of what I do, and I say for me it's centeredness, doing what I do, loving what I do, most of all, and being passionate about what I do. I mean, passion leads the way. It's a field that burns, hot and deep, that keeps you waking up every day. Much as if it doesn't work, it will work tomorrow. So it's a jeep, right? So that's the spirit.
Yes.
That's what I would encourage for everybody in every field. That's predominantly what it is. And so when you find yourself in having some superior skill sets, like I read this book, Onwards and Upwards, by John Maxwell. And he gives the example of Elvis Presley. I didn't know, like most people keep asking, and they say, oh, we didn't know he's blind. Elvis Presley is blind, right? Or was.
Blind?
Yes. Did you know?
Like?
Kabisa. Visually impaired. But he says Elvis Presley
like
himself.
Like Bartimaeus blind?
Yes. Kabisa blind.
Stevie Wonder blind?
Stevie Wonder blind. But he says music is a talent of hearing. You don't need to see the notes.
I'm hearing that.
And yes, so he says subordinate your limitations to your abilities. So if you have an ability to produce high-end stuff, for people to actually get engrossed in your channel and view, and you're changing lives, that's what you're going to do, right?
Okay.
Yeah, even if you have to start doing it from a bush. So then that's me. So yes, if you can say it again and again, it's part of a coping mechanism, but not coping. Everybody is created with a secret talent that's packed inside of them.
True.
So if you find it or it finds you, like I think for my case, it found me because wasting some time in camp, but not wasting. Like it was a course that I didn't choose. So when we found each other, I think for me, soldiering became a natural destination. I thought so myself. I enjoyed it too much.
You don't miss anything before soldiering, because this is where, utapata, like, let me ask you the last kienyeji question. In the line of duty, maybe not yours, probably someone else's experience. You can bust this without necessarily putting yourself on the spot. I'm sure you've heard people who have wameuma mtu pia, you know people. Is it true that you dream with those people? It takes away your peace of sleep. Kabisa. Is that true?
See, I said it, man. I said it. I mean, no human being was made with the purpose of taking out another human being.
Exactly.
Naturally. Yes. So that's an animalistic instinct which they train us to get to. Because to become a warrior, you got to actually get to a region where you're doing abnormal stuff.
So the training does not help at all. You still dream with the people you take out.
Everything else you do on earth changes you. So that's why the mental makeup that is shifted in a very significant way has got to be dealt with. And that's the psychosocial support, that's the support systems, that you possibly finding other better coping mechanisms. Because if you don't, I mean, it's a dark place to be in.
You're very clever, but watu wamekuelewa. So I ask that because I did not dig deep into when I came to your home with Jamil, ulisema, that's the first time you told me how deep your PTSD was. Right?
Crazy,
but I didn't dig deep into that. So does it get so deep that you miss the time before joining all this, before doing all you had to do?
I've seen people who in the village are still marching like you do in the parades.
Yeah.
Kabisa, you were told, I met someone, so the friends who were traveling told me, there's a soldier who lives in this, lives, okay. And they say, we'll catch up with him in the streets. Like, Kabisa, utamkosa. So I'm like, hey, I don't know everybody, man, you know, and those guys are soldiers far too many to know everybody. They say, no, this particular one, you won't miss him. Literally, as we were driving just before we got into a fork, then we hear someone, left, right, literally, he does that in a market center, in tattered clothes and all these things. So that is how much it changes you. I mean, in the parade, the president reads the commander-in-chief, the cadets before you, or the soldiers before you have been changed from raw civilians into professional, army officers, like, raw civilians. So this changes you. Literally, the change happens here. Not much in terms of your physical, but it changes here. Of course, so much in your physical makeup too, but the most significant changes happen here. So once they've changed you into an operator, and now when you become an operator, you become a special forces warrior, you are a completely different thing now. You are a machine, you are an extension of your weapon systems, and they're diverse. And you are from one operation to the next. Like just see in the movies. One moment you are in jungle experience, next thing you are fighting a completely different place. Next you are doing some, even if it's just in training, it's crazy stuff. So it packs a lot on your mental psyche, faculties, to a point that has got to be managed in. And the sad news is we far too often get exposed to just the physical perspectives. That by it looks healthy, this is fine. And then when you go out and you're watching football and doing all these things, men, especially men, we don't expose ourselves to other men. I mean, our vulnerabilities, that is. And so you end up still suffering the ravages alone, that is. So we get together in some instances to celebrate some shallow stuff and being cautious. But then the most significant of which we suffer from them alone. So we are alone together. We are alone together. Yeah, we get together quite a few times, but we remain really alone. And which is something that any men really need to take care of, especially men. I mean, the world is now reeling in a lot of craze and chaos, but on the mental wellness, and by the way, someone reminded me it's a mental wellness month. So this is really significant. We are doing something on Saturday. I want to mention here.
You can mention it if it's something that you believe.
Perfect. So then you join us. We actually now with the BA Challenge, my team, we do fitness clinics every Saturday. So from around 8:30 to 11, and where the other day we were actually taking people through scaling, our ladies, because of these femicides and all. So just, self-defense skills, just needed something that can get someone out of a situation
Yes.
Get the other guy, pit the advantages against the other guy, guys who are coming to rape and even kill. It has happened to our girl children.
Yeah.
And so we thought it wise, alongside fitness, we can take time to actually build on some basic skills, just how to self-defend and possibly walk out with their life intact. So we do that. So being a mental wellness month, we are tagging along some NGO and a doctor. We actually had a call today in Karura. So this Saturday, Karura.
It's the 9th, right?
Yes.
It's the 9th.
Yeah, the side from Limuru Gate.
Charges?
Zero. We have given our lives in order to help people live easier. So we are doing this for zero. We are not charging like the other guys, for real. Zero, so come Saturday, get yourself through the gate. It's the gate chargers, under the gate chargers come to us. We are fitness gurus and we have nutritionists and just good vibes. Then we get to also manage the mental wellness, because after that, we snack around and just congregate, have free talks, safe space. From the wellness talks. So we come in 8:30. 8:15, 8:30, just normal warm down and all. And then we hit the trails. Jungle is a therapy. So there's very nice places. We hit the waterfalls. We come back to the field. We do some now tailored trainings. So you come in, I want to bulk up. Someone comes in, I want to manage my weight. So there's different goals in this fitness world, right? So you say, this is the best way to do this. This is the best. So basic fitness, more like you go for medical clinic. So it's physical clinic to us. You come, experts, and you tell you exactly how to move your journey, and then you join a group. We have a group fitness club that pretty much just fitness vibes. I woke up today, I did it. So people encourage each other through that community of fitness, and it's non-discriminatory. Come in with weights and whatever. Everybody has their journey.
Sawa.
Yeah.
So I believe as we close, some of our viewers would like to know, wale wako interested in
close protection training.
Yes.
Well done.
How do they get in touch?
Well done. My number, I can say it. Yes, you can have it
make sure
posted
Byron's
somewhere.
number.
So that's my number right there.
Yes.
Check it out. Hit us up. We have a training that's coming up, level 4.
Yes.
With a team called Canex Pi Limited. And the lead trainer there. A servant trainer. You come in, we are not training anybody. You come in, we are delegates, you are participants in this. We cross-pollinate, you bring in your ideas, they can be us. Because as I said, everybody else is a bodyguard, by the way. When you're walking out there, you are. We just need to own those skills, tool them, sharpen them, and then direct them, channel them a proper way, through encouragement and appreciation of that diversity. But make you come in even as a bouncer, you leave through that door as an educated protector. That we guarantee. And it's high field and elite academy, which is the highest level of qualification, by the way. High field and elite.
It's Kenyan.
That's UK. It's UK curriculum, it's everything, but we actually, that's
you are
you don't know where
to offer
accredited,
the training.
Yes. High field and elite. This is not a Kenyan
stuff. This is giving me FBI vibes.
Yes. This flew in from the UK.
Can you use this ya kupita
honorary? Yes, for you I can give it to you honorary.
No. Amanda Cleven, and actually I'm ashamed to even say this. Because it is embarrassing to be associated with the level of training in Yakonayo, and I've been missing classes.
Imagine.
Nachoma,
bro.
And it's interesting that hizo vitu zote unafanya. Thank you for actually sharing your knowledge and time with us.
Always.
Na kitu moja najua, if I don't address it, it will be in the comments even before we get there. 2 guests wamekuja kwa show with a ring like yours, and there are people who concluded that it belongs to devil worshippers. So just for clarity, uko na pete moja noma sana. Sijui kama
it's a weapon. Someone actually told me what attracted me to it is actually something you can read it for yourself on the inside. The inside of the rim.
God bless America from sea to shining. Oh Lord, you watasema ni Freemason. This is not like a backup for a proper punch.
It is too. That's a weapon, bro.
So
just like some of the things that
blessings. God bless America.
Yeah. Look, knowledge. God tells his people that they perish because of lack of knowledge. So if this gives you a punch of knowledge, then so be it.
To change your behavior.
To change your behavior.
Like
we are changing this world bit by bit, man. Yeah, soul by soul.
Yeah. So Byron, asante sana for
always welcome.
Thank you and I always have fun in conversations with you because
thank you.
Najua kuna mahali umetuchezea mbali. This is only less than 10% of what you know, but it's still good vibes. Thank you
so
for
much.
sharing.
Thank you so much as well for inviting me and always being very gracious.
Asante sana.
Thank you, sir.